welcome you all to this exciting session of our Innovation Spotlight. Today, we have a special person who embodies the spirit of innovation and forward thinking, Mr. Jonathan K. Aggrey. Mr. Jonathan has had the privilege of exhibiting and participating in many groups and so exhibiting in several countries, including Ghana, Turkey, Kosovo, Nigeria, Italy, France, and Norway. He has also appeared in several major international catalogs and publications around the world. His collectors include museum, China, and numerous art collectors around the world. He won a Young Icon Award in Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah African Genius Award 2014. He also won Brass Award in Turkey in 2017 and other international awards. His work have not only pushed boundaries but also inspired countless others to think differently and strive excellence. We are here to learn, be inspired, and explore new perspectives as Mr. Jonathan shares his journey, insight, and vision for the future. Please help me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Jonathan K. Aggrey. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much, Juliet, and thank you, Dr. Owusu Benjamin. Um, my name is Jonathan Kwegyir Aggrey, as said by Juliet, and Dr. Owusu was my classmate or university mate in the University of Education, Winnipeg. So we have known each other for quite some time now, and I'm very much inspired by Dr. Owusu's journey and how far he has come and established this noble institution, Dr. Owusu Institution, and good work he is doing, and very supportive also to me as a brother and as a friend, and all of that. And I'm so happy after many years after school, we are still in touch, and we both shared common interests in education and on this journey. Yeah, so Juliet, that's a little about me and Benjamin. Your mic is mute again. I can't hear you again, but if you can hear me, I can continue.
Yes, I can hear you, Jonathan.
Okay, Juliet. Hello, Juliet. Juliet.
I think the network is frozen, but I can hear you, so you can continue.
Okay, so today I'm coming to share with you about uh, art for national development. And this is a very broad topic, so I'll do my best to narrow it down so that we get the important uh, lesson or the education we need, because art is a very broad subject. So about me, my name is Jonathan Kwegyir Aggrey. I was born in Ghana. I grew up in Ghana and did all my education in Ghana. Yeah, from secondary school, I've been doing art all my life. And then I moved to Accra. Then from there, I moved to the university. That's where I met Dr. Usu. And then whilst in school, or even before I went to school, I was already doing my art as a commercial artist before I went to the university. So by the age of 10, I was already working on my art and using it to sustain myself without largely depending on my family. So my journey as an artist started very, very early. Right at the age of 10, I was already working with professional artists. So until I finished junior and secondary school, then to the university. So when I entered into the university, I was almost, let's say, a professional artist because I was still making some income from my art, which also sustained my education. Aside the support I also got from my family, I was also supporting myself as well. So you could see the transition that I've been able to sustain myself from a younger age using my art to be what self independent until I started traveling internationally. Now, as you can see, Dr. Usu can show you samples of my watercolor painting. I majored largely in watercolor painting, which is very rare in African art because many artists in Ghana and many parts of Africa, they don't use watercolor. So I'm one of the very few people or very few artists who are into watercolor painting. Yeah, so what you see on the screen is samples of my works that I've created over the years. Yeah, so all of these are both old and recent works. Yeah, and that was me in my last year in Spain around October. I was in Spain twice last year. So this was taken around April when I was invited to do a demonstration in Caudalte. It's a very small town in Spain. Yeah, and this is one of my recent works. And this particular work with the children playing is an old work when I did about 24 years ago or something, many, many years ago, and all of that. Yeah. Okay. So as you can see on the screen, these are all samples of my work. And I have so many collections. So I decided to come up with a book to document all that I have done into a book I titled Jonathan K. Aggrey, Tales of African Watercolor, which if anyone is interested, you can just contact Dr. Usu to make arrangements to get a copy. Yeah. Okay. So art for national development and just a little bit of what is art and all of that. Art in recent times has a broad definition from the old definition we used to know way back in school, which only simplify it. Art is just making an impression marks on the surface with pencil and paper and all on canvas. Those are all simple way of defining art. But in these modern terms, art is really, really broad with so many uh, branches that you can uh, look at. So art is not just about painting. If you look at the umbrella of art, we have the performing art, which is another branch. And under the list of performing art, you have the music, the dance, the theater, etc. Then when you talk about the other branch, you have the visual, whereby the painting, the drawing, the sculpture, textiles, leatherwork, etc. And all of this also still has more deeper branches, sub branches also. So I can basically say art is endless way. So you cannot simplify, give it a very simple definition. Yeah. So since I majored in the visual aspect, I may not go deeper into the other aspect of art. Now, from history, it all started from prehistoric art. And doing our research studies in the university, it's like the prehistoric art is what started the whole art journey. And as you can see on the screen, those are the samples of prehistoric art done many years ago by the early humans before Christ or BC, many, many years ago. Now, I was privileged last year, somewhere around April, to visit this particular cave of prehistoric art in a town called Paragu. Paragu in the southern west of France. And if you look at what they have done, how they discovered it was through cave discovery of some hunters and a dog. And then they got to discover that there was a certain hole the dog was trying to uh, penetrate through. And that led to the discovery of the Lesco. If you look at the spelling, it's a bit different from the pronunciation, but because it is French and we pronounce it in English, so there's a bit of distinction you need to take note of. Lesco is Lascaux, but it is pronounced Lesco. Now, this museum, when it was discovered, uh, there were some samples on the screen. I wish if we could have seen that. It's a building. It's a building, and at the back of the building is where the actual cave is. But when you go inside the cave, you see the paintings done by the early prehistoric people. And over the years in France, they noticed that as many people visit the cave, which became a tourist attraction, what they did was that they have to close the cave because as more people visit, as they breathe, as they interact, there is a lot of carbon reaction taking place, which was fading the original paintings in the cave. So what the government of France did was that he built a modern architecture in front of the cave. And then they did a lot of duplicates of the originals into a three-dimensional art forms and repeated all the paintings you see inside the cave in on a something like a moat or this what we call fiberglass. So you have a replica of the designs inside the museum. So it is like the modern version, which was copied from the original. And that alone has become one of the major tourist sites when you visit the town Paragu in southern west of France. And it is generating a lot of income because first of all, as a tourist, you spend money to get your ticket to move from your country to another country, for example, to see the prehistoric cave. Now, aside the expenses, you also have to spend on accommodation, your food, transportation. And to top it all, you also have to pay a gate fee, a ticket of about 20 to 22 euros to enter, to have the experience of the prehistoric art. So that alone is generating a lot of revenues for the people of France. And this cave was later being discovered in another countries as well. Like in Spain, they also have their cave, Australia, and many other uh, parts of the world. So they are using the art to generate revenue, to boost their economy. Now, let's move to the Louvre Museum, for example. The Louvre Museum is also located in France, in the capital city, Paris. And if you look at the Louvre Museum, the spelling of Lou is different from how it is pronounced. The spelling of the Lou is Louvre. But because we are English speaking, we try to pronounce it Louvre or try to pronounce everything. But in French, you don't pronounce everything. So there is called the Louvre Museum. Now, the Louvre Museum is so big that if you want to look at every artwork over there, it can take you about maybe 3 months or more, if I'm not exaggerating. Because when I visited the Louvre somewhere in 2018, it was so big that, in fact, just by walking without necessarily looking at artworks, my legs started hurting. Because you cannot just use 1 hour to finish even one room of artwork. No, it's not all that possible. You need to spend a lot of time to look at all the artworks in the Louvre Museum. And one of the artworks that has made the Louvre Museum uh, like the destination for what do you call it, tourist attraction, is the Mona Lisa painting. Now, this Mona Lisa painting was created by Leonardo da Vinci during the High Renaissance period. And this particular painting, as of today, I think the the worth of it, if they are to quantify it in monetary terms, is whether 400 billion or more. Because every year they try to evaluate it and the price keeps going up, up, up. And it is the only painting in the Louvre Museum that has a bulletproof covered in front of it. And there is also a barricade that you cannot get close to it at a certain meter. Unlike most of the artworks that we have privilege to get close to touch it and all of that. For this particular one, you can't even get near it, not to talk about touching it. And this particular painting, the number of traffic of people it attracts all over the world. If you look at sample of the pictures I sent, you see that there are a lot of people who travels to France just to see the Mona Lisa painting. And I was a victim of that because when I first traveled to France, I didn't travel through Paris. I went through to my destination Bordeaux from my connecting flight in Lisbon straight to Bordeaux. But because as an artist, it's like a mandatory or it's like part of the things you wish to see before you die is to see the Mona Lisa painting, the famous painting in the world. So, of course, my second time in Paris, I have to change my route just to stop in Paris, visit the museum by paying, what do you call it, my flight, my accommodation in Paris, and also an entry fee just to see the Mona Lisa. And all of this money that I spent is going to the government of France. So imagine if every country has something that they cherish their arts, how well it will boost their economy. If you look at some of the data I sent to you, Juliet and Dr. Usu, you will see that if you check the revenues that the Mona Lisa or the Louvre Museum brings to France annually, it is very high. Because if you don't go early, you may not even have the chance to see the Mona Lisa painting. You can be in a queue as long as you can imagine. Because there is always a lot of people who wants to go to the Museum of the Louvre. And one of the most important things to see in the Louvre Museum is the Mona Lisa painting. Aside all other millions of paintings and artworks they have in the Louvre Museum, It is the Mona Lisa painting that brings a lot of revenues to the people of France. And aside paying, this was my gate fee. I can't find my receipt. But aside the Mona Lisa painting, I bought this souvenir also near the Mona Lisa painting. There's a shop also there. So this is a reproduction of Mona Lisa painting. And I bought this print for €4. And you can imagine the number of people who visit the Louvre Museum. And if everyone buys this for €4, you can just imagine the revenue it is also creating for those selling the souvenirs. And there are a lot of souvenirs also with the faces of Mona Lisa, like T-shirt, mug, face cap, just name it, you know. So it is creating revenue. It is also creating employment because somebody needs to be at the shop to sell it. It is also creating avenue for printers who are printing those souvenirs and paraphernalia. So you could see that out of one artwork, it is creating businesses and it's also generating revenue for the country and for the people, all because of artwork. So you could see that art is so important when you you are serious with it, either as a self-employed without necessarily depending on the government, because the government sector cannot employ everybody. But if you are serious with your art creation, you can be self-employed without necessarily depending on the government. In fact, the government maybe end up depending on you by you paying your tax to the government because you have a business. So art is very, very important for any nation to develop. And this that I'm sharing today is not something I've read in the book. This is a personal life experience of how important it is for art as a tool for national development. Now, the Louvre Museum, for example, it housed artworks created from the early Renaissance to High Renaissance because there are two periods of the Renaissance. We have the early and the high. Now, aside that, there are other artifacts from different periods, like the Greek period and the uh, Rococo period. So many periods. You could find samples of these artworks in the Louvre Museum, like what you have on the screen. These are all samples of work created during the High Renaissance period. Now, moving to Museum d'Orsay. Now, Museum d'Orsay is just about maybe 500 meters. In fact, it's a walking distance from the Louvre Museum, just adjacent from the Louvre Museum, about 500 meters. You can walk, and it will take you just about 10 minutes or 12 to get to Museum d'Orsay. In French, museum is spelled Musee, and then the d'Orsay is D apostrophe Orsay. So it's called Musée d'Orsay, but they usually call it Orsay. Now, the Orsay Museum is also a museum, but not as big as the Louvre. And there are other museums in Paris as well. But these particular two are the most popular that people visit. So I also visited the Musée d'Orsay. And over there, you have the privilege to see uh, a more contemporary works which started from the era of Van Gogh to Picasso, Salvador Dali, the Edgar Degas, So these are a museum for more like a modern or more contemporary era of Picasso, those artists around that era. So when I visited, there was an exhibition in there, aside the other artworks being displayed, which shows their collections of those artifacts. And there was a Picasso exhibition, so I had the privilege to see Picasso's painting, which was his blue period painting. So all the works he did was in blue. So I have to pay gate fee, entry fee. I think that was about 20 € also, in addition to the Louvre Museum that I've already paid. So you could see that within that short distance, how much I've spent only on art. And all this money is going to the government of France. Now, when you go to the Museum d'Orsay also, it also has all these amazing artworks from these great painters in history. So it's also another experience because they also have the shop, the coffee shop is in there. There's a bookshop and uh, souvenir shops and all of that. And all of these shops, they are generating revenues. And there is also a transportation, those using the tricycle to transport people who wants to tour around Paris. They all around the museum. So you could see that it's also generating a certain revenue around the museum. So it's like a market. Everybody is benefiting or has a business that they are benefiting from, all because there is an art museum over there. Now, let's look at uh, the China Museum. Yeah, this was in Museum d'Orsay. That's the inside, as you can see on the screen. So that's me uh, standing there. Any more photos? Yeah, so this is the inside. And you could see some of the historical paintings in there. Okay, so this was in China, and this is my standing beside one of my paintings in China Museum. Any more photos? Okay, wow, good. This was my demonstration. Okay, so moving to China Museum. Now, in 2014, I was privileged and I was invited by the Ministry of Art and Culture in China to participate in an exhibition. And it ended up being a full sponsorship travel, whereby they take care of everything, they paid for everything. And in addition to that, all those paintings I was standing beside was purchased by the museum into their permanent collection, like the one on your screen. Yeah, this one, all of these works are currently in the permanent collection of Qingdao Art Museum, and they paid a lot of money for it, which in fact turned my life around financially. Now, about China Museum, what happened? The Chinese government built whether about 4 or 8 story building, huge building for a museum in Qingdao, and they wanted artworks to fill into all the space. So what did they do? The government invested $2 million, $2 million, and they invited 16 international watercolor artists from different parts of the world. And I was privileged to be one of the invited artists from Africa. So I traveled to China, and the paintings I exhibited were all bought by the government into their permanent collection. So they paid a lot of money to have those works, in addition to the other artists as well. So honestly, all the 16 artists who exhibited in that particular exhibition in the museum, everybody's work was bought. Now, during the seminar presentation, the curator mentioned that the government actually sponsored this exhibition with $2 million, and they want all the artworks to be in the collection of the museum so that the students can use it for research and other activities. So you could see that now the money the government has invested in collecting those works into the museum, they are going to benefit from it for a lifetime, because you don't feed that works, it's just there. And you could see that the money the government has invested, with time, they are going to get more than that $2 million they invested in, in more than that. And that is the smart way the foreigners or the whites always use to defeat the blacks. We like to think in short term mode, like what to do today. That's why if you look at our road construction, everybody doing something, just what we need now, not about tomorrow. But the foreigners, they think about the long term plan. Now, with these 2 million they invested in collecting those artworks into the building, in addition to the money they invested in constructing the building, with time, if everybody visits the museum and they pay maybe €10 or €5, with time, they are going to get all the money they invested in back, plus more interest. It is also going to create employment, generate revenues for the people of China. Now, as I sit here, if I said I'm going to China to look at my own painting, I'm sure I have to buy a ticket, book a hotel, um, take a local transport, maybe traveling from Beijing to uh, Qingdao. I'll have to take a train or bus. In addition to that, I have to book another hotel in Qingdao, and then I have to pay a gate fee, because I cannot just go and say, "Oh, my artwork is in there, so they should give me free entry." No, maybe the security guy may not remember me, but they'll say, "Buy your ticket, go in there and look at the works." So you could see that by establishing such uh, a museum, it is going to generate a lifetime revenue for the People Republic of China. And generation upon generation are going to benefit from it. So that is the importance of art, and all our personal experience I am sharing, not the data I read. No, this is a life experience of my journey of art as a national development. For example, in Ghana, after school, I decided not to work for the government, but I'll do my own art. And I've been able to sustain myself just by doing my artwork and transporting it internationally. So whether in Ghana the economy goes bad or not, I'm not trying to be selfish, but just to inspire all of you that if you decided to take your art serious or whatever you are doing serious, your market may not necessarily be in Ghana. You'll be in Ghana, all right, but you may be earning from foreign. Now, as I am here, in a few months' time, I'm traveling again for exhibition in France. So most of my income doesn't necessarily comes from Ghana. It comes from abroad, all because of my art. So art as a national development is an asset on its own when any government takes it seriously and package it well. You will make more revenue to sustain the people. You see? So I'm sure you understand that the reason why the Chinese people did what they did. Same as the museums I've also mentioned. And I'm sure I remember there's a certain photo uh, I shared when the Mona Lisa was sent to United States, New York Metropolitan in 1962 to 1963. And you could see the number of people who are going into the museum just to see the Mona Lisa painting. And it's not free. You pay an entry fee. So I'm sure within that 1 year period from 1962 to 1963, the money they invested in bringing Mona Lisa from France to the United States, they'll be able to get back their revenue just for that short period. So that is the power of art when it is marketed very well. So finishing it up, now if you look at Ghana, we are not taking advantage of what we have. Even though we claim we have a national museum which recently was renovated, but we are not making it attractive enough. We are not packaging it also enough. We are not also paying much attention to the art sector in Ghana so that at the end of the day, it becomes attractive to attract more foreigners into the country. I'm sure if the government of Ghana is smart enough to take this idea from the Chinese, let's say they, the Almighty Cathedral place, for example, they use it as a museum or any location within Accra and build a big museum and make sure that they travel. Maybe they invest a lot. Maybe let's say we are talking about $10 million, which is nothing to Ghana government. $10 million is nothing to Ghana government. Imagine they invest $10 million. Go to all the African countries, collect different artworks, from as old as they can get. Different artwork from the early days, for example, Nigeria, Ife period, to today's. Collect as many as you can. Go to Egypt, go to Zimbabwe, South Africa, everywhere, and collect their artworks. Buy them, make an offer. Maybe each artist you present your work, maybe a Nigerian artist may pay, let's say, $10,000, and you have 10 million investment, and you are taking $10,000 to buy a painting from an artist in Nigeria. It's a lot of money. Now collect all these artworks from different African countries. Come and display it in your national museum in Ghana, for example. Now, start marketing it that in Africa, you are the Ghana is the hub of all African paintings. So imagine that if you want to see an African paintings, just come to Ghana, and each of the museum, they have what do you call it? Each room, maybe this floor, because that's how they have done it in what do you call it, in the Louvre Museum in Paris. They have different rooms, so you could have the chance to see Egyptian period, Egyptian works from Egypt. You could see from Greece. You could see from Italy. You could see from different countries, all put together in one big building. So imagine the Ghana government does the same thing and make sure that they have different artworks from different part of Africa and start marketing it. You could see that when people travel to Ghana, they will love to go and see that particular museum, and by seeing it they'll pay entry fee, and with time that $10 million, you surely make your money and even get more profit from it, and you'll be boasting that, oh, Ghana has almost all the African art collection. So if you don't need to go to Nigeria to see it, just come to Ghana, it is there. So you could see that you are giving the tourist people more reason to visit Ghana. So either they traveling to Togo to say that, oh, I want to experience the art in Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Egypt, and all of that. Just in Ghana, you have the privilege to look at all of these artworks. And in that process, it is going to create employment. People can also have souvenir and gift shops around the place. You can also generate your own magazines and souvenirs like this, sell books and all of that. So it becomes a business hub of art whereby many people can be benefiting without necessarily creating, aside creating the employment for the workers. Individuals also can have their business idea to establish something. Maybe it could be a small transport that takes you from this place to that place within Accra and all of that. So you could see that it will boost the economy, in addition to they investing in coming to Ghana to see artworks in Ghana. It is also boosting the economy. So this is just an aspect of art, just the painting, not to talk about the music, the theater, the fashion, and all of these sectors in art. This is just painting alone. And you could see that with just painting alone, you are solving a lot of the national issues of unemployment. You are also generating revenues. So, art for national development, it is something that the government needs to consider. Unfortunately, in Ghana, when they talk about the creative art, they all limit it to the musicians. I see that all the time in the news. Anytime the government is coming to do something or talk about the creative art industry, it all boils down to the musicians. You don't hear about the painting or the visual aspect. Even the throne or the government chair that everybody wants to sit on was done by an artist. The language stuff they hold in Parliament was done by artists. The state sword was done by an artist. And I recently saw an interview of the man, the sculptor who did the state stool. Aside what the Kofi and Tubam did, I think they have had a modification of some new stool in Parliament. And the artist, the state of the artist who did that chair is not in a good condition. You see, because they won't put so much value on the artist who created that uh, emblem or state emblem and all of that. So art is a very very serious business when taken into consideration. It can generate and develop a nation. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Wusu Institute. It is my hope that this institution keeps growing well, invite more people, achieve its aim and purpose. And I'm really, really grateful for the Dr. Benjamin Owusu for his amazing support during my project, my book, and other things he has also done for me. I'm really, really grateful. And thank you very much, Juliet. If anyone has a question, uh, your questions are welcome, and I'll be glad to answer it to the best of my knowledge. Thank you all very much. Juliet, I can't hear you. Unfortunately, I can't hear you.
O- Okay, so Juliet, can you hear me? Okay, so if you have any question, you say I'll tell Mr. Jonathan. Okay, my good friend and my brother Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us today. I've learned a lot, though I was an artist with you, but you were always ahead when it comes to artwork, and then when it comes to watercolor, you are the specialist. We are grateful to have you today, and
Thank you again.
we have also learned that art is really a very important tool for a nation to develop. So we take it from there. We all learn from that. Juliet, we like to ask you, what is your main passion for art? What motivated you to do arts?
Okay, thank you, Juliet. My motivation to do with that is more like natural. It came to me naturally because by the age of 10, I already knew that I wanted to be an artist and nothing could stop me. And I am very grateful to have my parents, even though they didn't have higher education, but my uncle was into art. So even though usually in Ghana, some years back, when you tell your parents you want to be an artist, they will say, "Shut up! Why do you want to be an artist? You are not serious," and all of that. Just like in football and other things. But I was privileged. My family didn't discourage me. In fact, they were okay and they motivated me to do the art. So, right from the beginning, I've had the support to motivate my passion, and I didn't get got discouraged by my family. So it has been with me, and art has always been something I've been known with. So my motivation to be an artist is a natural uh, phenomenon thing that happened to me.
That is amazing. That's amazing. Mhm. Okay. Thank you for answering that for us. Juliet, is there any question? I think there is one question that I
Okay.
would like to ask. Is there a strategy that Ghana can use to generate more income? I know you've highlighted a lot. Um, is there any strategy that you like to share based on your experience that Ghana can I mean, work on that path to help artists to do more.
Yes, it's just unfortunate our leaders, when they travel and they come back, they forgot that they have traveled. You know, we can copy from the other countries what they are doing, the positive things. Like, for example, the China Museum, for example, they could copy the idea and also try to replicate it, and do the same thing here to create revenues. You know, there are so many aspects. It's not just always about, oh, we built the road, we built this and that also. So looking at unemployment alone, you could just create an avenue to support, you know, to solve the unemployment issue by establishing this museum, get the necessary things into it, and you could see that it will be an aspect of creating revenues for the nation, because people will travel into the country. When they come, they will have to lodge in a hotel. In addition to that, they will take local transport. In addition to that, before they get into the museum, they will have to buy a ticket. Even if the ticket is 20 Ghana or 50 Ghana CD, it is all money. And at the end of the day, it is creating employment, is also generating revenue. So I think it is time the government or Ghana start to look more into the art sector. It's not just only about the music. They should also look into the visual aspects of our country to help generate more revenues as well. Thank you. Yeah, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I said thank you very much for
Thank you.
giving
Thank you.
us such information when it comes to arts for national development. This is very incredible. Um, if there is no more questions, I will suggest that we end the webinar today. And I would like to share that this webinar is sponsored by Arise Graph Professionals. And if you would like to share your innovation or any idea that you have you want to share with the public or the audience, you can reach out to us at Dr. Usu Institute so that you share with the world. We are so glad to have you here, Jonathan, and we wish to have you more.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Usu. Thank you. God bless.
Nice. To our audience, we say thank you and we hope to have you next time. We plan to have this webinar at least once every month, so you'll be seeing us more often, and you will hear from us. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon or this morning, depending on where you are watching us from. Enjoy the rest of your day.